Well, I guess that brings us to what brought us here.
Yeah, I guess we weren't really friends in high school, but never thought anything badly of you. Just
Thank you.
thought you were there. Yeah. But yeah, I had a really rough time, I guess, in high school, and I don't think a lot of people realised. My parents got divorced when I was in year 7. Quite a nasty divorce, which kind of led to a bit of a, unstable environment for me. I used to go to school and not talk to anyone for days, but it was never really acknowledged, never really, dealt with, I guess. And I just struggled in that I felt like I couldn't talk about my feelings or talk about anything mental health related. I just felt like, no one really talked about it at our school. There was a lot of stigma around going to like the school counsellor and like you had to miss class, and same thing, I didn't want to offend my family or tell them anything that was going on. So I guess I just kind of pushed it away and was waiting until I finished high school to kind of start a new life where I could do what I wanted. So I definitely struggled in high school, feeling quite depressed and suicidal, but same thing, I was just waiting for that light at the end of the tunnel after graduating and being able to start studying nursing, which I thought I'd love, and being able to make friends with who I wanted to, just having a bit more freedom around what I did when I did it.
For me, that like even hearing that is a bit baffling, because and I think it highlights how that mental health aspect works, is where you don't really know what's going on with someone, and you don't know how what you could say on a particular day can really affect how they're feeling. Because if someone would have asked me about you in high school, I would have thought, Jess was just just quiet, quiet, happy, did her thing, and that was it. I would never have thought on that scale. And I know you and I had a very different schooling experience. Like I loved school, and you didn't quite love it. It's just nuts that someone can be struggling at that level and no one knows. The teachers you're spending 40 minutes of class with, coordinators who are spending that much time with you and looking out for you, and your friends like that you're spending every day 9 till 3:30 or whatever it is with, no one's noticing. And it's that must be hard, like to go through day to day thinking I'm feeling like this and no one else has a clue, and also not knowing how to address it. Like, is it normal? Am I the only one feeling like this? No one's talking about it. So how did you navigate that? How did you navigate the fact that you were feeling like this?
I guess as well at the time, like I didn't fully identify I guess that it wasn't normal. Like I knew very much that I was quite depressed and down, but I just kind of isolated myself. And I do remember in year 12 going to the doctor actually, because I was getting what I now know as symptoms of anxiety. So like really bad stomach aches, feeling really dizzy, breathless, like panic attacks. And I remember not quite being able to put that into words, but I remember going to a doctor and saying like, this is what I'm experiencing, really bad stomach aches, blah, blah. And she said to me, it's just sounding like subconsciously you don't want to study. And she said, you just need to relax, and I'll put you on Nexium, which is like a, stomach acidity. So it reduces the acidity in your stomach. And I just accepted that and moved on. And I just, remember thinking like, I'm going a bit crazy. Like this is all in my head. I just don't want to study. Like I just, but I'd always seen myself as quite motivated, high achieving. And I felt like, no, I do want to study. It's just something else is going on in me that is making me quite anxious to, finish high school. So I think I kind of got roadblocked from asking for more help, I guess. Like I just, in my head, was like, just get through this year, get through the next year, get through the next year. And then, pretty much what got me through was waiting to graduate and just, saying goodbye to everyone and starting what I thought, would be a really good path. Yeah.
I think that's a message that we do get from school anyway.
Yeah.
I know from my parents or from listening to, people talk about year 12 or school in general, it's like 2 more years to go and everything will be better. 1 more year of hard work and everything will be better.
Yeah.
Like you get to the end of, December of, that year and your life starts.
Yeah.
And everything that happened or anything that's impacted you in those 6 years of high school or further into primary school just disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like life just starts again.
Yeah.
And I think it does in some ways.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't. You still carry that on.
Yeah.
You should change the scenery.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that the blame got shifted onto you rather than trying to workshop why this could be happening is scary to put onto a 17-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Like 17-year-olds where they're feeling something that they don't know why they're feeling it. Yeah. And to be blamed that it's just you. Yeah. You don't want to do this. Study. And if anyone would have asked me about your ability to study, I would have thought that you were very studious. Like I never thought of you as anything else. Yeah. So it's quite a scary thing that how many people have fell through the cracks. Yeah. And how many people have been told, well, actually, this is what it is. Yeah. When all they needed was a little push or guidance to help. Yeah.
And I think just being able to advocate for yourself, like I wish I had known at 17, that's not right. I do want to study, and being able to say to the GP, no, I do want to study. It's not me, being dramatic or avoiding things or, but that's looking back. So, yeah.
I mean, hindsight. And also you got to a doctor because you want advice. Yeah. They're the experts. And, you want them to tell you that, this is what I should do. That's what you're going for help. Yeah, yeah. And I think it's so brave now for anyone with any sort of mental health issue. One of the hardest parts is booking that doctor's appointment and going, this is what I'm feeling. Yeah. The anxiety around that itself is debilitating. Yeah. I remember for myself having to book that appointment. I booked it, cancelled it, booked it, cancelled it, booked it, cancelled it. What do I say? Sat there when I got there and said, I don't know why I'm here. Yeah. That's very difficult. But nowadays with, the mental health plan and the EPC plans and that you can get 10 sessions subsidised. Yeah. I think now we're starting to get into a role of,
normalising it, I guess.
Yeah. And actually getting the services that we need.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm onto my 3rd psychologist now. Yeah. Absolutely love her, but same thing. Went to 2. Just really didn't like their skills. One was really into mindfulness rather than actually talking things through. One was a bit older, who I just felt like I couldn't really relate to, I guess. And now my current one, she's younger. Same thing, occasionally does a notepad, right? Yeah. But very, very minimal. And actually, let me call her on a Saturday morning if I'm feeling crap. She'll text me, make sure I'm okay, email me through resources just randomly. She's just
That's fantastic.
Absolutely invested in me and me getting better, I guess. Yeah.
Which, that's what you want to feel like. You want to feel like that this person really cares about you.
Yeah, yeah. After high school, I kind of got on pretty well. Started studying nursing. Yeah. And then I went travelling in 2017, and something traumatic happened to me, which kind of flared up my mental health issues. But again, I just kind of pushed that to the side. Very much was ingrained into me, you'll be right, don't think about it, don't, just keep going kind of thing. Your life is so good, that classic, or you've got a good family, you've got a roof over your head, you've got a job, you're studying nursing, you're doing what other people would call all the right things. Yeah. I moved out of home in 2019. So I guess that's a bit instability of not having my family, those support networks around me all the time kind of got to me. And November of 2019, I started to feel really bad again, really depressed and super, super anxious. So same thing, I went to my GP, who gave me a mental health care plan and put me on medication, mainly just for my anxiety, which was fueling a lot of the depression. Like, I wouldn't say it was fully depression then, just those negative thoughts, like, why can't I just, you know, go to the supermarket without feeling super anxious. Started on a really low dose of a medication, and kind of just, again, soldiered on, trying to do everything that I was doing before. So seeing this psychologist that I didn't like, I think I had 2 sessions with her, and that was it. And then I thought, all psychologists are going to be bad. I kind of lost hope in that. I'm like, this medication isn't working. I don't believe in medication. You know, all those thoughts. I think I'll just come off it. You know, I don't want to be annoying to the GP and go back and be like, I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. But whereas in reality, I should have just, well, I don't like saying I should have. They're the shoulds that you shouldn't say. But I guess I wish I had have gone back and been honest, because I'm sure they deal with that all the time. It's no one size fits all. So so I kind of went on, and then COVID hit, and I guess a lot of people can relate in that their mental health took a big decline last year. But I think definitely working in a big hospital in the city as a nurse really fueled a lot of anxiety as well for me. You know, we were preparing for worst case scenario, you know, moving on to 12-hour shifts to reduce workforce. So, you know, working 7 a.m. till 7:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. till 7:30 a.m. And the shift work is notoriously bad for your mental health as well. So I was really struggling, calling in sick for all my night shifts, just because I would wake up the next day having panic attacks during the day about having to go back to work at night. And I was just panicking about everything. Like, I'd feel physically ill leaving the house. So, like, to get to work was such a big thing for me. And I think by then I was on my 3rd different type of medication. Something has to change here. I can't keep going like this. So I moved back in with my sister in July last year. And then I also got a new job at a different hospital, just in their day oncology. So I was doing then more normal hours. So I thought, this is great. Everything again is going great. This is going to be the change that I need. And it was good for about a month. And I just kept pushing on, pushing those thoughts away again, the depression, anxiety, acting like it wasn't happening. And then I got a psychiatrist in August because I wanted to change my medications again, because same thing, I'd gained actually 10 kilos from one of the medications.
So what medications, you said you were on your third? What had you tried?
So I tried, I think first one I went on was escitalopram. So that's an SSRI. And I'd gone up 2 doses, different strengths. So like 10 milligrams to 20 I think it was. And then I went on to sertraline, also an SSRI, which I went from that. I tried a bit longer. I think it was 50 to 100 to 150. Same thing, just didn't do anything. And then my mum had actually been on mirtazapine, another different type of drug, and that had worked for her. So I said to the GP, can I try this mirtazapine? And I did, and probably a combination of lockdown and the drug. But I ended up gaining 10 kilos, which for me, like, I'm quite little. I'm like 45 kilos at baseline. So I got up to about 55 kilos. So I was feeling pretty crap about myself, and even more self-conscious. And so it was kind of that balance between, like, you're feeling okay on this drug, but not great within yourself. And I was always hungry. No matter what I ate, I couldn't, it was like a hole in my stomach. I couldn't feel it. And I knew, this isn't right. So I wanted to change medications again. And then my psychiatrist, my GP referred me to the psychiatrist because, she was like, this is to a point now where we've tried a few things. Maybe it's better to get a specialist. She changed me onto a different medication, fluoxetine or Prozac. It's also an SSRI, which I was again a bit suspicious of, because I knew the last two that I'd tried hadn't worked, but I was like, she's an expert, she knows what she's doing. I'm just going to go along with that. And yeah, I just ended up having a horrible reaction to that. So I weaned off the mirtazapine for a week, so I had nothing in my system, and then started on the fluoxetine, which just made me so much more anxious, so much more depressed. I wasn't feeling great then, so I went and started staying with my mum. And yeah, I was not feeling great, but I was still going to work. And one day I did go to work, and I walked in and I just had a massive panic attack where I just could not calm down. It was, to me, it was embarrassing because, you know, all my colleagues could see that I was, you know, having this huge panic attack at just going to work. But it was that feeling of being trapped there and not being able to kind of leave when I wanted to, which is like, a big trigger for my anxiety now, but I can identify it now. Whereas back then I just didn't really realize, like, why am I getting so anxious going to work? So yeah, I had this big panic attack there, and I actually ended up in hospital, not my hospital, but a different hospital. And yeah, I was saying that I was feeling really suicidal, really anxious, and they kept me in short stay for like maybe 4 hours and then discharged me home. I had a nurse come and assess me, so it wasn't even like doctor, psychiatrist, nothing. It was, in saying that I'm a nurse, and I so believe, like, highly skilled, really great, and he was lovely, but there was another patient, a psych patient, kind of next door, and you could hear her, you know, screaming, yelling at the staff, not able to calm down. And he said to me, you know, if we admit you, you'll be with people like her, and that's just not appropriate for you. So I felt like, I'm still acting appropriately. I'm not sick enough to be admitted into the hospital, even though at that point I was so exhausted just from trying to do day-to-day stuff, like I say, getting up and getting dressed. I would be shaking the whole time. Driving to work, I felt sick. Like, I just felt so horrible. And then pretty much after that panic attack at work, I didn't work for about 3 months. All up. I got home and felt horrible, and still quite suicidal. So my mum was then on like suicide watch. I was staying with her, and one night I was having such a bad panic attack, and my panic attacks don't last just, you know, the 10-15 minutes that you know most panic attacks do. I think one of the doctors said that it's like I'm having a panic attack and then another one just straight after, so I never get that break, I guess. So my panic attacks can last like 2 to 3 days.
And what is your panic attack? Like, what does that feel like to you?
It just feels like I am dying. I don't know, like really breathless. I can't feel my hands or feet, like a tingling. And non-stop kind of little shake, tremor, like this cloudy fogginess that I feel like is never going to end. I can't move, like I can't physically get up, can't eat or drink. So
when it lasts a few days.
And when it lasts a few days, it's like, you know, I wouldn't eat for 2 or 3 days, or my mum would be trying to give me like little bits of something to eat. And in those situations, the only things that would bring me down were like other medications, like Valium and like sleeping tablets. But then when I woke up, same thing, I'd be straight back into it. So it was just like my body was not getting a rest. One night I just said to my mum, like, I can't do this anymore. I am so exhausted, you know, these medications not sitting with me well. You know, I just don't know what to do. And so we called the CAT team, which is the community assessment triage and treating team. I think that's, I don't know, something around that. So they were from the Alfred. They come to your house and assess you there. So they came as well, super lovely, but same thing, I wasn't unwell enough to be admitted, even though, my mum was looking after, like, my carer 24 hours a day, on suicide watch, just, trying to get me through the next day and the next day and the next day, and hoping that this medication would somehow, the side effects would end. Yeah.
Has your mum spoken to you about how that period was for her?
No, and that's what I'd love for her, to get some kind of counselling, because I think for her it was really almost traumatic for her.
Yeah, because I think obviously parents and mums, like my mum as well, they carry that. Yeah. Like that doesn't help you in that situation, because I think I felt like a burden.
Oh yeah.
And I felt like a burden to family, friends, the lot.
Yeah.
So then you're in this situation where you can't control your emotions, your feelings, your panic attacks, and then you've got your mum who's requiring to be with you. Like, that's a lot of trauma on both sides of that equation. It's just it's a difficult situation. And that's why it's interesting that you're not sick enough. Because that whole scenario, people are being seriously affected. Both you and your mum are really having to work hard. And both exhausted. Trying to get through it.
My mum has been beautiful, but it got to a point where I just couldn't felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I'm not sick enough, etc. My mum went out for a smoke, and at that point she'd been controlling all my medications. So she'd been giving them to me in the morning as I felt I needed, and she had them. So she went out for a smoke without them, and I grabbed the whole bag. I locked myself in a room. But my mum had that motherly instinct. It was pretty crazy. She just knew straight away, and just ran. And I've never seen her be so strong to get into the room, to come and grab me. And the same thing, I was then quite upset with her that she stopped me. She just grabbed everything off me, and I didn't want to talk to her. I was really upset that, now I have to keep going. That was my way out, and I have to keep doing this. And I felt like there was no end. There was no help. I tried to get into the public system for help. I felt like I tried everything to reach out to all, people when I was in crisis, and nothing had happened. So again, my mum called the CAT team, and they came. They took one look at me and my mum. It was 2 other practitioners, and they said, you two both look exhausted. By then my mum, she was so exhausted and so upset. She was shaking. Didn't make me feel guilty about it. She was just like, she just needs help. She just needs time in the hospital where you can adjust her medications, where someone else can look after her and make sure that she's okay, rather than just having it just be on my mum. And by then I was like, please just take me to hospital, because I can't look after myself either anymore. I just need someone else to take over this and help me. So I guess that's the big thing I want to say is, I was scared to go to hospital to begin with. I always thought, psych wards, how scary is that? The people in there are, I don't like this word, but crazy. So violent, out of control, and such, again, that stigma of going into a psych ward, but I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me. They straight away took me off the medications, made me have like a detox. They said, no, these medications are horrible for you. They're not doing what we need them to do, which I was like, that's what I've been saying for the past 2 weeks, but they've been saying to write out the side effects.
I'm feeling that.
So it was nice to have someone kind of validate, you're right, you know. So they changed me onto different medication while I was there, and I just got to meet so many amazing people who had been through so much in their life. And I'm not saying there's a reason behind people having mental health issues all the time, but I feel like a lot of the time it's a lot of life experiences that you've been through that attribute to you then getting a mental health condition. And so, some of these people were just incredible that they were still going, and it kind of put things into perspective, that these people have been through so much for so many years, and they're still, fighting and still functioning in life, and they've still got jobs. They're just having a bad patch at the moment, where they're needing same thing, maybe their meds sorted out or some accommodation sorted out or
respite from
respite life. Or their family wasn't coping with them at home and the CAT teams brought them in, you know. I got to the point in there where I realised it's more common than what we think. And then it was World Mental Health Day on one of the days that I was in there, and I was feeling quite a bit better. And same thing, I just thought, you know what, I just want to share kind of a bit of what I've been through, just to help, not to help, but I guess raise awareness, same kind of thing, reduce the stigma around mental illness and going to the psych ward and getting help when you need it, because I feel like if I had have gotten help from when I did reach out, you know, the series of events with me staying with my mum, you know, they wouldn't necessarily have happened if, you know, I kind of nipped it in the bud earlier.
Well, I think it's that, like, that we get taught in that medical field of, you know, if we're constantly trying to pull people out the water who are drowning and we're trying to save them when they're drowning, then we're going to always be trying to play catch up rather than why don't we just stop the person at the top pushing them in. And I think that's important. I think if we're going to continue trying to help this, and we actually are serious about helping people with these issues, why do we want to let them get to a point where they are so low when the signs, and people are reaching out in their own way, people are reaching out a lot earlier than what we classify as reaching out. And instead of getting to the point where they are drowning, they're drowning in their emotions, they're drowning in their feelings, they're drowning in just their own bodies.
I think that's the thing that really frustrated me, was that you kind of have to be past tipping point.
In terms of where you're at now, how are you going now? Like, what are you doing?
So much better.
Good.
Like 6 months ago, I never ever thought that I could be where I'm at now. I don't think I've had a panic attack in about 3 months, which is
Congratulations.
just and same thing, I don't want to focus on too much on time wise or whatever if it happens, but I just think I now have the skills to deal with my anxiety a lot better. So in terms of what I'm doing now, I think I'm on really great medication. I've got a really great psychologist. I've got a good psychiatrist who handles my medication. I'm also doing, through the private system, a group therapy every week. So it's DBT, or dialectical behavioural therapy. So it's learning to change what you can and accepting what you can't change. And it's a lot about regulating your emotions and I guess not reacting to what other people do that might annoy you. It's more, how can you control yourself and your reaction to them rather than letting everything affect you. Sleep is a big thing for me. I still struggle a bit with it, but trying to prioritise just resting if I can't sleep, as well as just eating regularly, which I wasn't doing.
Basics.
Exercise, basic
what people
stuff.
would find are the basics.
I write in my journal every day. Actually do a rating of my day, which I find really works.
So like in terms of like, you just give her a score out
of 10.
Okay. And like, what do you just look at how you exercise, how you felt, all that sort of stuff? Okay.
So I can kind of see, it's helped me a lot see the patterns of like when I've had a bad week, and I write down kind of why. It was because of this, and it's helped me identify what makes me feel bad. Can be, you know, a stressful day at work, which then affects my whole week. But looking back at that, I can see, it was because of this work. It wasn't because, you know, you're relapsing again, or you know.
You can identify a point
that
started it, and then you're not feeling like you've just lost control. Because you can actually. What did you find helpful, and what did you actually find harmful? I think they're two kind of important things. I know, like, as an example, for me, people asking me, how's your mental health? I could honestly slap them in the face, because I hated that question, because I would automatically go inside myself and go, fine, and then I'd be like anxious inside. I hate that, but it's coming from a place of caring. So like, I couldn't get angry at that question, but I couldn't answer it also, so it didn't help me. That's what
I feel like. For me, I wouldn't mind that question, because I feel like this is a big thing for me, is that I felt like people weren't acknowledging the problem.
Yeah.
People would ask me, you know, oh, how's work going? How's this going? Even though they knew all this stuff was going on in the background. So it was kind of like,
we can't touch on that.
You can't talk about it. Whereas one thing that I really did want to talk about was like all these things I was doing to try and, you know, help myself and, you know, I guess get that validation from someone else that like, you're doing all the right things, or, you know, I felt a lot like, you know, if it's not talked about, it's not happened, you know, or it's not there, it doesn't exist. So I feel like that really wasn't helpful for me when people just kind of ignored that it wasn't.
Just scared around the edges.
Yeah. And I think people are often scared of saying the wrong thing and making you worse. But for me, it was, if you don't say anything, I'm in my head of, oh, they're just acting like nothing's happening. And, you know, if I'm having a bad day and I tell someone I'm having a bad day and they just ignore it and try and distract you, instead of actually asking, well, why are you having a bad day, and talking it through, I felt really, again, like I was being dramatic, or, you know, like I wasn't warranted in having that bad day. So I guess, I really struggled with that. Yeah, I guess another thing is people saying like work will be a good distraction for you. It'll get your mind off things. And I guess I really struggled with that because I was like, oh, it actually takes a lot for me to get there. And when I'm there, I'm looking after people and, you know, I have to be really responsible. And so if my head's not there, it's not like, you know, I'm just scanning groceries or, you know, it's actually really not great. So I felt that was a bit hard for me to accept when people would say, just go to work, it'll be a distraction, it'll get your mind off things. Would actually make me feel like, oh, why aren't I doing that, you know?
It's like an expectation.
Yeah.
It kind of puts how you're feeling kind of on the back foot.
Yeah, definitely, And I feel like that whole, you know, hustle culture, success got to me a lot. Like our generation's kind of version of success is, you know, have a really successful career, have a house, partner.
All by the time you're 25.
Start looking at having babies. Whereas self-care is not something that we take into account. And I definitely found lots of people like, oh, well, you need to be making money to pay your bills. I'm like, yeah, I do. But at the same time, I need to look after myself. I need to prioritize my mental health right now. And I think that that's hard for a lot of people to accept because you've never really been taught to prioritize your mental health and do what you need. I think I relate to you in terms of how hard it is to get to work. I was lucky in the sense that once I got to work, I was okay. So it was the build-up. It was getting out of bed to get dressed, to get into my car to get to work. That's the part I hated. And I think once I got there, I was okay. So that was just me personally. So I used to try and tell myself, you know that once you get there, you're going to be okay. But it was more, and if it was more getting there, but if I took one sick day, I was taking more than one sick day. It was one of those things where if I took one day, I'm taking 4. Because there's no way, on that day where I don't go to work, where I'm going to lie in bed all day, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And I'm going to do that the next day. And that was how, like, that's how I dealt with it. And I think that highlights, not that I should have been going to work, but it highlights that I actually needed to be doing something for myself that was going to help myself. Because going to work just to forget about it for 8 hours obviously wasn't helpful. And I'd obviously done that for 2 to 3 weeks. And then it all came crashing and burning for a week. And then I'd do the same thing. 3 weeks of work, 1 week off. 3 weeks of work, 1 week off. And so going to work just to take your mind off it wasn't helpful. Because it wasn't really putting me in a position where I was getting better. I was getting by. Like I was just getting by. Avoiding a certain situation actually doesn't do you a whole world of good. It just keeps getting you back into that cycle where the next day the anxiety will just be double because you've avoided it yesterday. And so it was a lot about learning to accept that yes, I feel anxious today, but that doesn't mean I can't do it, and it will be worse tomorrow if I do avoid this right now. You're never going to be able to avoid this forever. You've got to work, you know, to make a living and get by. So it definitely was interesting learning about that kind of cycle.
For people that are just really struggling, what's one thing both that they can do and also like their families. Like what can their families do? Because I think they play a huge role.
Yeah, huge. I think what you can do for yourself, I guess, is just to have hope that it will get better, because I feel like same thing, you can get yourself into that hole, which I did, of I've tried everything and nothing's working, but there will be stuff that works. Like 6 months later I can say 100% it's so many different things and you've got to try so many different things, but it will work out and you will get better. This is not going to be your life forever. And I think you really have to keep that in the back of your head. And I think in terms of family, I think a big thing is to be an advocate for that person is the biggest thing that you can be. If, you know, they will face obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, but if you can be there for them to say, you know, to that psychiatrist that's putting them on that medication that is not reacting with them, if you can help them to say, you know, this isn't for me, I don't want to do this, because I feel like I was so vulnerable, I just accepted whatever was going to happen. Whereas, in the end, my mum would kind of advocate for me, like, no, she needs to go to hospital, she needs this kind of help. And so I guess to be in that team together where you're kind of on the same page of what that person needs is really important. So I feel like, just helping that person when they're at the most vulnerable state and not judging them, but just advocating for what they need in the moment is so important. And I feel like if I didn't have my mum doing that for me, I feel like it would have been a lot harder. Oh, the one thing I did want to mention is a safety plan. Don't know if you...
go for it.
So once I got discharged from hospital...
So is this something like that...
This is something I feel like anyone with any kind of mental illness or... especially around suicidal thoughts, should have, and I'd never even heard of it.
No.
So a safety plan is pretty much when you feel like you're getting to that, you're climbing up the cliff. You're ready, you're almost ready to jump, but you can identify like, I'm going that way. It's kind of things that you can do and you and your family kind of go through it together, or your support network, whoever, your friends, whoever, in that you're going up the cliff and you've identified that, and straight away you can put this plan into place. So like, for example, my plan is, my first thing is tell my mum. I just talk to my mum. I consider staying with her, depends how bad it is, and I consider giving her all my medication. And so she starts to look after my medication. If, you know, after a day or two I'm not feeling any better, I'll make an appointment with my GP or psychologist to talk about like what's going on. If I'm still in this really bad state, staying with my mum, you know, GP hasn't helped, psychologist hasn't helped, maybe contacting the CAT team about how they can help me. And if they can't help me, I've asked my mum to speak to the CAT team. So again, that advocacy. So, you know, it's not just you saying I need help. It's also your family member saying, no, I need help helping her. Kind of, and then the very last step is to present to ED or have a private hospital admission for me. So I think just having that plan and that knowledge that if things do start getting off track again, you know, I can just say to my mum, you need to put the safety plan in place. And, you know, you're both on the same page of, if I go up that cliff and I don't want to go to hospital, I just want to do this. No, we're putting in the safety plan. And, you know, mum can call the CAT team or, you know, whatever, and I won't be angry with her because I've agreed when I'm feeling okay that this is what we'll do. So I feel like... I
think that's awesome. That is. And it also, going back to that teamwork aspect, that's something that both you and your mum actually have, and it's something you've agreed upon. And I think, you know, it's also that peace of mind, knowing that if it does get to worst case scenario, I'm prepared. And we are all prepared, and we all know the step-by-step process of what to do. I think that's great. That's awesome. I think it's been really handy, not like that I've had to use it, but if I ever did need to, where everyone's on the same page, I think. Everyone from ZOOP is very appreciative and thankful for you doing this, because I know, like, it's not the easiest stuff to talk about, but it is extremely helpful stuff. And like, I'm like, it doesn't make too much difference, but I'm super, super proud of like where you are now compared to when we were first started to chat a few months ago. And it's really exciting seeing, you know, where you are. And I think it really, like you said the word before, hope. I think looking at you and looking at where you are now compared to what you were, hope is definitely there. And I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. As dark as it might get and as dark as you might feel, there will be a light. And I just think as we just keep going and get the support, and I think you're a perfect example, and we're so grateful to have you. Like, it's been awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I don't mind talking about it. I feel like it's not talked about enough, and if I can help one other person by sharing what I've been through, that means the world to me. So